Hello everyone. Just doing another, not really a process video. That I don't really have any techniques or anything to talk about with this, but it was just a book that I'm going to work on for a customer that I think can be improved a lot with the detailing, um, and it also brought something to mind to kind of talk about and collecting in general. This is actually more of a collecting video than it is of a process pressing and cleaning video. But I figured I'd go ahead and again just chat a little bit while I work on this, and I'm interested to see how much this can be improved. Um, Let me bring the camera in closer a little bit temporarily, so you can see that this I can get it to focus for at least a second. Um, this book, I mean, there you can see it's got a lot of whites that are pretty dirty. Um, so I'm gonna try and clean it up as much as I can here. Um, but the thing that I really wanted to talk about when it came to this book just kind of got me thinking just about value and pricing, and where do these numbers come from when we see the value of a book is whatever it is. And you can say, well, it comes from the price guides or whatever, or it's what that's what people pay for it and so on. Like I understand that, but where do those numbers come from? Uh, so this book, Superman's Girlfriend, Lois Lane, number 70, um, is I think a fairly significant book, in that it is the first Silver Age appearance of Catwoman. Now, when I met with the owner of this book, and was looking over some of the stuff he was considering having worked on, this obviously being one of them. When I do that, I look up their value, for a number of reasons. If we're talking about if they're asking for advice on should they have it graded, or how much work should they put into it, and so on and so forth. But also for insurance purposes, I sort of have to record what the value is before I take it into my care. And while as you saw, this book is obviously not in the best condition. It's not horrible, but it's not in the best condition. But even so, when I looked up the value of this, I was really surprised at how low this book goes for. I mean, it's not the first appearance of Catwoman, but it's the first Silver Age appearance, and I feel that in itself is significant. It's a whole new age. It's a whole new sort of version of the character, and it seems. And there's this always this division between Silver Age and Golden Age, of the Golden Age version, the Silver Age version, and Golden Age books versus Silver Age books. It's probably one of the most significant sort of time discrepancies, not discrepancies, but age differences, time differences. I don't know how you want to say it. In comics, between bronze and copper, it's not that big of a deal, but between Golden and silver, I feel, is rather significant. Mostly because that's when, the Marvel Age of Comics, and that's defined by Marvel. Fantastic Four #1 came out and sort of defined that era. But there's a difference between in DC as well. There's a good difference between the styles and the characters. But this book, you can get this book, the first Silver Age appearance of Catwoman, for easily under $100. Easily under $100 in fairly decent shape. And that's confusing to me. So, why is that so low? And keeping in mind, again, I understand, not the first Catwoman. That would, that's a whole different thing. But what would cause this to be such, like it's just any other book of that time, right? That's sort of the biggest thing to me. Is that the price of it is probably not much different than Superman's Lois Lane number 71 or one lower 69. I'm making a claim there. I don't know too much about the run of Lois Lane. Maybe 69 and or 71 is actually another key issue. I don't know. But it seems that it's priced similar to just any other book of the Silver Age of that time. Despite it having this semi-first appearance, but first Silver Age appearance of a very significant character. And Catwoman is, when it comes to Batman villains, or not even the villains, I'd probably say Batman family, just in the Batman mythos, Catwoman, it's his freaking wife, right? I mean, is it? Did they actually? I can't remember. They went back and got married. I don't remember. Who can keep track of this stuff? So it just got me thinking about, who gets to decide? When was it decided what the value of these things are? And you can say, well, the market decides. Yeah, surely the market decides, but there are influences to the market. So the market decides. So when I'm going to think about buying a book, and I buy something or bid on something or whatever, I'm part of the market. What influences how much I'll pay for it? It's not just what they've sold for, because that which is, again, certainly important to take into account. But looking at price guides and things like that, but because if you look at sold things, who are they influenced by? Well, other things that sold and price guides, until it goes all the way back in time to when there were no previous things to look at and it was just price guides. So the most famous price guide, Overstreet, and our friend Robert M. Why and how did he decide what things were worth in an age that was not connected like it is today? How was that decided? And when it was decided, his little book that he published that all comic stores had went by like, well, this book says it's worth this, so it's worth this, and that's what they price stuff at. And that's where it all started, and where it all came from. And we're still influenced by that today, by things that happened years and years and years ago. And I just think it's weird that it's never really questioned. But we still see its influences today. and on things like this, somebody decided that the first Silver Age appearance of Catwoman isn't really worth anything. So it got written down in a book, and from then on it has perpetuated forward that the first Silver Age appearance of Catwoman isn't worth anything. I mean, other Silver Age appearances are, first Showcase 30, the first Silver Age appearance of Aquaman, and given that Aquaman is, I say Aquaman because he is he's a bigger character than Catwoman. He's a leading character, but it also is also, it's just Aquaman, and I say that with all the love in the world. Aquaman is one of my favorite characters of all time, but it is just Aquaman. It's not, Batman, Superman, and so on, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, so on. But why, and it's not just things like this, though it is strange, of some appearances worth more than others, and it's I want to say, you want to think it's all supply and demand, but it's not just supply and demand. It's this a lot of it is saying that this thing is worth something because we are told it is worth something. Therefore, people pay a lot of money for it, making it, in fact, actually worth something. But that started because somebody said so. Strange. It's so strange. When you look at actual commodities, I don't know, like gold, right? It has a long-standing value. There is a concept of its rarity, its usefulness. But even that, a lot of it is it's because it's shiny, and back in the day, people liked shiny things. I mean, people still do like shiny things, but that's why gold became gold. But very rarely in comics does it come down to the sort of supply. There are exceptions. Like Hulk #1 is worth, obviously it's worth a lot, but it's not just because it's the first appearance of Hulk. I think the value of that is increased because of the rarity of the book. It just wasn't. There weren't a lot of as many of them printed as there were other books at that time. So I mean, again, there are exceptions to that. So, what why did? And this is me making some presumptions. I haven't gone back and looked in the first edition of Overstreet to look up Lois Lane 70, and this is just kind of. I'll fully admit I am making some assumptions here. But is it because it's this isn't a main book? I would think that there's not as many Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane wasn't as popular as your adventure comics and your action comics and things like that. So there'd be less of them sort of floating around, which if supply and demand is a thing, would increase the value. But does that, in some people's eyes, make it worth less because it's not a sort of big title book? Just by the nature of that it's worth less, not worthless, but worth less than what it would be if it was in a major title. Is it because Lois Lane is a Superman character and not a Batman character? Catwoman being most affiliated with Batman. Kind of strange that her first Silver Age appearance is not in a Batman related title. Does that have something to do with it? I don't know. Did whoever decided that just not like or care about Catwoman? So that was the way. Like again, there was no way. What was the research done to determine the values of these things? Like maybe you could go to a few conventions, but again, there wasn't the high access information we have today to say like, oh, this is what everybody's selling it for. This is what everybody's buying it for. So this is therefore the value of it. They didn't have that. And so you can see, and it permeates today, like what the value of things. And I've talked about, like, I bring this up all the time because it's such an interesting study to me of Werewolf by Night 32, which is, in my opinion, way overpriced for what it is. And it only is because we as collectors, as buyers, allow it. Right? If we as a group of people said, you know what, none of us are going to pay more than $1,000 for this book at this grade or whatever, then that's what it would be worth. That's it. Because if no one would buy it above that, then that would be what's worth. Something is worth what someone pays for it or is willing to pay for it. So we have all the power, but we're also the ones that kind of get screwed. We don't do that. There's no way for us to really do that. It'd be nice if there was a way for collector, like a coalition of collectors to get together and say, look, some of these things are ridiculous. Let us get together and decide the truth. But the problem with that is so many of those people are invested in things assuming that their value is what they are currently stated. So, if someone is sitting on a stack of Lois Lane 70s and suddenly it's like, you know what, this is actually an important book, they're doing great. But if someone is sitting on a stack of something else that's worth a lot, and then that coalition suddenly says, you know what, this stuff isn't really worth what it's been going for, that hurts. So I don't know. It's just such a weird, and this is just any collector's market in general. It's such a weird environment overall. It's all fake. Values of things are fake. They're made up. It's all made up. I don't know. Weird. But it's not only this. It's not only why is this book not a like I say, it's not sought after. I mean, people want it, but why is it not a valuable book? It's other things as well. The whole, first appearance of Wolverine, right? What a cluster that is. It's so wrong. It's so wrong. I mean, I can kind of see what happened there. But as most people watching this probably know, because it is a big book, first appearance of Wolverine is stated is sort of unanimously decided between like grading companies and pricing guides to be Incredible Hulk 181. I disagree. And I'm not the only one that disagrees. So, if you go back an issue to Incredible Hulk 180, guess who shows up? Bub. Wolverine is in it. Now, 180, again, as most of you probably know, this is all just kind of set up, I guess, is credited as the first cameo appearance of Wolverine. What dictates a first appearance, a full appearance, versus a cameo? I would argue that if there is any interaction between characters, it is not a cameo. A cameo is they show up, and that is all. They appear somewhere. It's a cameo. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am going to let us look up the definition of cameo. Let's do it. I'm on my phone right now, so sorry. Looking this up. Yeah. I know. I got. Yeah. Okay. Going to Webster's Dictionary. Sorry, Merriam-Webster. Leave out Merriam. All right. The site can't be reached. Cool. This makes for super entertaining watching, I'm sure. Why can't I just find... Don't show me a bunch of cameos. Cameo definition. This is not a very good... The closest definition, because it's not a piece of jewelry. A small character part in a play or movie played by a distinguished actor or a celebrity. What is meant by cameo appearance? A single and often brief dramatic scene. Maybe I am wrong. Anyway, as far as what I've seen historically in the comic book world is that if there's any interaction, it's an appearance. It's not a cameo. I don't know. Wolverine doesn't show up a lot in the book. I mean, to be fair, he is at the very, very end. But where are we at? Let's take a look. I just recently did this book. Let's let that aside for a second. Hulk 180. All right. Here we go. Right at the end. You can kind of see that there. Wolverine. Full panel. Full body panel. If you really want to tangle with someone, why not try your luck against the Wolverine? So he has a full sentence. He's in action. He is interacting with characters. To me, that is more than a cameo. That should be a first appearance, in my opinion. But it was decided that is a cameo, and first full appearance is the next issue, Incredible Hulk 181, which is the one that's worth more, right? The Hulk 181 is the one that everybody wants. So is it? Wolverine is not on the cover of 180, and he's predominant on the cover of 181. Was that part of it? In that, people kind of want this one because whenever you have a significant first appearance, appearance of a significant character, it's nice when they're on the cover. So did that sway the decision that, well, the first first full appearance is 181 because it's on the cover, which makes it a sexier book. People want that one more, and so on. So we'll make that the first appearance. They being, the magic hands that be. I don't know. But, okay. So through that, let us say, fine. You have set a precedent. You have these things called cameos. You have full appearances. And full appearance is what you want. Full appearance is the one that is worth the money. Okay. Let's talk about Darkseid. Let's talk about Darkseid. Darkseid first appeared, and I say the word appeared as just the real use of the word. He showed up. He was first seen, not first appearance, in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen 134. Very, very briefly. He is just like on a TV screen in the background. There is a character who is later identified as Darkseid. First cameo of Darkseid. Now that's a cameo. That is a cameo. For sure. Shows up in the background, doesn't do anything, doesn't say anything. That's a cameo. Okay, cool. He also briefly shows up in the next issue, Jimmy Olsen, number 135, which is credited as his second cameo. And I can't remember offhand. I think he does have an interaction, I think, with Superman, maybe, or an interaction with somebody. Maybe I don't recall that one. I do recall that on 134 it is definitely cameo, barely in it, on a TV screen. That's it. Who cares? 135 is second cameo. First full appearance, and it is, I agree, a full appearance, is the Forever People number 1. It's the first, is, again, universally sort of agreed, it is the first full appearance of Darkseid. And I can get behind it. He's in there. I think that's where he actually starts mixing it up or interacting with Superman and has dialogue and all that stuff. Cool. Well, great. We learned from Wolverine that we can have first appearances, we can have cameos, and Darkseid is not on the cover of any of them, I don't think. But what we've learned is that you don't want the cameo, right? No one wants Hulk 180. You don't want the cameo. You want the first full appearance. You want that Hulk 181, buddy. You want that Hulk 181. So we don't want Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, number 134. We want the first full appearance of the Forever People, number 1. Right? Oh boy. Oh boy. Not by a long shot, buddy. That little on the TV screen in the background doesn't say anything. That's the money. That's the money. That's the one that's worth the money. That's the one, I'll say that's the one that people want. But is it? I mean, it's the one that people want because it's the one that is worth something. But why? Why is it that first super brief in the background, no interaction, doesn't do anything? You know, you can't, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. You can't be like, all right, this appearance of Wolverine is really brief. So we don't care about it. It's a cameo. It's you don't. That's not what you want. You want the first full thing. Okay, fair, fine. Whether or not Hulk 180 is a cameo or not, fine. We want the first full appearance. That's the one that is worth money. You can't do that and then be, well, in this case with Darkseid, and again, the cameo of Wolverine is substantial. It's full body, in person, interacting, saying stuff. No, you don't want that. You don't want that. What you want. What you want. Now, if Wolverine would have been in the background on a TV screen, not saying anything, oh, buddy, Hulk 181 would have been the thing, right? Because that's what it is with Darkseid. It doesn't make any freaking sense. It just again, this is all just coming to the point of it's all made up. It's all made up. We as collectors give our money, pay our money for these things. I'm not putting it on the sellers. Obviously, they're pricing things based on the market, but we're giving our money to these things based upon made up stuff. The stuff is worth what it is because some people said so. Not because it actually is. There's no intrinsic value in comic books. It's just paper. It's just old, gross paper. It's weird. And I'm not trying to like rant or whatever, or I'm not negative on it. It's just one of those things. It's weird. At a point, like, yeah, fine. I accept that Hulk 181, Jimmy Olsen 134 are the ones to get. It's fine. It doesn't put me out of anything. It doesn't make, I'm not upset. It's just it just doesn't make any sense. It's just weird. I'm not gonna like invest in Hulk 180s and hope one day the world comes to its senses and realizes that's the one that's actually should be the one that's worth something. I don't really care. It's just one of those things. I don't know. It's just one of those things. I think coming back to the first Silver Age Catwoman here, there are other first Silver Age appearances of like Batman villains or Superman villains that they're their first Silver Age appearances, and they're worth more. Don't get it. Who could know? Who could know? Dang it! I hate when that happens. My eraser breaks off. But yeah, it's probably things that most people don't think about. They just accept it. This is the life. This is what it is. That's fine. But I do think about these things when it had to start somewhere. Somebody had to decide all this stuff. Someone had the power years and years ago, and that's what we go with because that's what we have. And it's just not to blame that person. If it does all come down to Robert Overstreet, I don't like fault the guy. It's like I may doubt it's all just to him, but maybe it is. I don't know. I wasn't around at that time. If it was just down to him, I can't really blame him because if it was just down to him, then he's just one person. I can't expect him to keep it all straight or whatever, and he probably did largely in his observations and whatnot, but I don't know. It's just bizarre. It's just bizarre to me. Let's see. Well, let's see. A few more. It's definitely looking a lot better than it was. So let's see. I'm gonna go back around here. Well, you can still see where these are like here. Right, this is a crease. They got creased in. And that dirt probably kind of got underneath the ink a little bit, so you can't get that all the way out, but it's looking significantly better. This is going to look pretty sharp when it's pressed. Overall, this is a big improvement on this book. Anyway, that's kind of it. All I really wanted to talk about with this is just, like I said, looking at this book is like, man, I feel like back here is going to be sort of just as problematic. It seemed, there are other books too that kind of fall into this of why are you priced the way why are you priced so low? The one that has killed me for a long time. But I thought about doing a video of like underpriced what I think are underpriced books. I think a lot of comic YouTube creators do that. There's a lot out there. Why is this so cheap? Why is this not worth more? One of those, Avengers Annual 10, the first appearance of Rogue. Do you know how cheap you can get the first appearance of Rogue? It's ridiculous how cheap that book is. I think the first appearance of Mystique is worth more than that, and like, who cares about Mystique? And Rogue is a significant member of the X-Men, right? Like significant, like in the 90s. Oh man, if you grew up in the 90s, like on that cartoon, Rogue was all up in that era, and there's a significant amount of collectors from that time, or significant amount of people from that time are collectors now. It was the 90s was a while ago. She was in a movie. She was in a number of movies. That's usually the thing that makes a book skyrocket. Are they in a movie? Yes. It's now through the roof. She was in a number of movies. Anna Paquin got her Rogue on for a number of movies. No one cares. She is, I guess, now rumored to going to be in the next Captain Marvel movie. Once I heard that, like, all right, cool, maybe this is it. I went up and looked up the value of her first appearance. Nah, people still don't care. Like, why? Why do people not care about the first appearance of Rogue? The first appearance of Gambit goes for a lot more, and he's never been in a movie. He gets rumored to maybe he's going to be in a movie, or other characters get rumored to maybe be in a movie, and their first appearance book skyrockets. Rogue, and has been in at least 3 movies. You could pick that thing up for, I don't know, $20-$30. What the crap, man? It makes no sense. It's all made up. It's all made up. It's just weird. It's just weird. I mean, I think that's cool. Like, I was glad to be able to not have to pay much for my first appearance of Rogue, because like I Rogue's fine. And I don't really collect for the investment. It's the characters and whatnot. And if there's a character that I don't really care about, then I don't want to spend a lot on their book, because like I don't want to put that kind of money into that character. So it works out for some characters. Another one that you'd probably be surprised at that is cheap, Animal Man. The first appearance of Animal Man, Strange Adventures, something or other. I don't remember off the top of my head. Um, it's a cheap book, considering it means the Silver Age book. But you can get into the first appearance of Animal Man pretty cheap. Now, he's not like a major player, but Animal Man's been around. He's done his time. He had a great run in the 90s. I don't know, in the 2000s he had a pretty good run when it introduced the concept of like the red and stuff to go along with the green and all that. He's been around. Little Buddy Baker. His first appearance is one of those like, really? That's it? Cool. I'll pick it up because I do really like the Animal Man. If I can get his first appearance for cheap because no one else cares. I will do it. And I did it. I did do it. So it's just weird. It's just weird. That's pretty much it. I don't have a whole lot more to talk about. I'm just going to keep the camera rolling while I keep working on this book. But don't expect, I might show another close up of this once I'm done cleaning the back. But other than that, I'm just going to keep going. I'll let the camera keep going. If you care, you can keep watching. If not, I mean that's really it for the content. Me yammering on about stuff. So anyway, thank you. Like, comment, subscribe. Do the things that I like you to do. And we'll catch you soon. I just realized that I don't know how long that had been going on, that my camera just froze. It's kind of strange. I'll probably cut that out if I wasn't talking. Oops. Hopefully it wasn't for too long. Oh, no. It's a waste. What happened? My favorite eraser is basically kaput. I blame you, Silver Age Catwoman. You and your lower than what it should be value. This video was brought to you by Titan Comic Pressing. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Titan Comic Pressing LLC.